science.
Yeah, when I was trying to figure out, for my graduate thesis, I distressed some of the books that I made. I tested a lot on some they're just cheap Gene Wolfe paperbacks and some Discworld books. Oh, Jordan disappeared.
Jordan and
behind.
Jen, are you reading the same version, the same edition of the book?
I'm doing the omnibus. This
one?
is like
Okay.
a double, same kind of thing as New Sun, but I also have the paperback.
I have this one.
Singles. I got the singles too. The paperback singles.
So,
but I feel like the omnibus is probably the easier, cheaper option.
You probably need to pick it up.
Yeah, I'll probably get that one, but if everyone had a different copy already, I would get the whatever copy.
Right. I guess
it's nice when we can do. It's nice to be able to do page numbers.
Connor? What do you have in Ryan?
Omnibus.
All right.
Okay.
Omnibus it is.
That seems like critical mass anyway.
Let's do it.
Jordan?
I also have one dust jacketless hardcover copy of Just Lake. Being thorough in our cataloging.
I have the paperbacks of the 4, which I only got because I just love the covers so much, and I wanted to have all of them.
I have 3 of shorts.
Am I here right now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Short Sun's gonna get weird because it's kind of hard to find. I have the single book hardcover 3 book.
Is it only 3 books, Short Sun?
It is only 3 books. And let me tell you, it's really hard to look at after Long Sun. I think that I have the individuals, but the art for them is so ugly.
Yeah.
This art is pretty dumb.
I have this.
Oh, wild.
It's one single. All in one.
Nice.
How
big is that?
I still haven't read it.
It's pretty hefty.
How big?
Yeah, it seems pretty hefty.
For reference, it's...
Oh, yeah.
But it's a hardcover too, so it looks thicker.
I have the large size trade paperbacks of Short Sun, and then one of them in hardcover.
I'm kind of afraid to read this, honestly. It's in too nice of condition, but I just got a really good deal on it.
It's a really good book.
Is Short Sun your favorite, Connor?
Ooh. I don't know.
I thought you had a non-standard favorite. I could be wrong.
I mean, Short Sun, I do have this weird emotional connection with Short Sun, which is maybe because I was reading it on a very long tour, and it was a wonderful escape from the terrible men that were around me.
The terrible men.
Yeah.
Your friend?
That's right. It was really difficult to be in it was 7 people crammed into a van for a month, all getting each other horribly sick and slowly hating each other more and more.
Yeah, that's an experience.
It'll happen.
Our life was always in danger.
Like people were threatening you?
No, the equipment was threatening us. None of it was secure. It was going to just smash us all in one end of the van.
Have we started? Is this the beginning of the show?
It started.
So maybe we should let Jordan start because she wants.
Oh yeah, I wanted to make a statement, and I just wanted. So I haven't been talking in. I haven't been talking as much as Wolfpack, and basically, I'm like, so first of all, I have to admit that I've been behind in Urth every meeting that we've had, first of all. Because, like, the first half of Urth is so difficult for me to read. Because it's like, it's not the kind of, there's a lot of descriptions, and there's a lot of descriptions of, like, completely impossible things. And that's not the kind of like, those are two types of descriptions that my mind cannot handle. I'm just not that kind of thinker or that kind of reader. And so it's, like, really laborious. And it's, like, there's that. And also, I've been trying to read ahead and read Long Sun so I can have it read the first time that we read it together. And that's just been, like, way more exciting to me because I'm, like, just so sick of Severian at this point. We've been with Severian for, like, a year and a half or something, and, like, just, like, Severian, I just, like, can't do it anymore. However, I want to say that we're now at the part of Urth that I really like and I'm excited about, and it's really fun. And we were saying before the stream started, that we all liked this, or most of us who talked and mentioned it, so that we liked this passage the most. And I agree. And I also liked it the most, and I'm all caught up. And that's what I had to say. I still might not talk, I don't know. But yeah.
What's your favorite part of this section? What's the thing that you were excited about?
Oh, this section? Well, like, just the fact that now they're just back on Urth. So it's like, and all of a sudden, just, like, the prose, I just understand it better. Like, right off the bat, that is good, first of all. And I think that's it. I think that's why. Because I know I'm excited about the stuff that's about to happen because, like, it does time travel. Like, the first half of the book is time travel stuff that's, like, we're describing how the ship moves, and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't even know what a ship is anymore. And
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, all the impossible description stuff is stuff that I love.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's intentional. I think it seems like that would be intentional because you're going from Urth to a ship that doesn't make sense. Like, it's totally. Not, you know, you're outside of, like, space-time. You're kind of, like, in this weird other dimensionality, and it's confusing for people who feel like they know about it.
Yeah,
it's still, like not totally. It's mostly just like if you've been on the ship for a really long time, it's like you just have a really time-worn theory about it at best, you know.
Right.
But
yeah, that makes
sense. And then
people are probably saying different stuff too that isn't totally like true, but it's kind of true. Just how, like, when you experience something, everyone has a description of it that isn't, like, necessarily real, but it's, like, sort of real.
Like Jose Chunks from Outer Space, the best episode of X-Files.
Well, we've talked about before about the classical kind of, like, psychedelic arc where you're in kind of, like, normal reality, and then you kind of, like, slowly drift out of normal reality, and you kind of have these other type of experiences. And then when you come, and this is not just true with psychedelics, but also with, like, you know, samadhi or whatever.
Intense, like, religious experiences.
Yeah, you kind of, like, get this, you have this experience and you get this, like, kind of unexplainable other layer of knowledge. And you have these unexplainable other layers of experiences. And then when you come back into your, like, normal earthly reality, then you still have to figure out, like, you have to figure out how to, like, integrate that in. And it's, like, that's, like, the most confusing part, kind of.
Yeah,
but I think it's, like, but I think, like, if you think of, like, these books as, like, as we've kind of talked about before with Urth, where it's kind of kind of just like hammering home. This is what we've talked about this too, but what I've come to think about this book as is like, really, is Wolfe really trying to like hammer home that like this is an internal landscape allegory, and that like these books are a tool or whatever, and that, you know, and so I think in that way it's like a pretty easy to understand metaphor where he goes to the ship and goes to Yesod and then comes back to Urth. You know, it's
I want to respond to what one of your points, Jordan. And I think you were saying that you find that you're often confused, and for me, I am as well reading this book. And one of the things that frustrates me about Urth of the New Sun, coming from the New Sun, is that I feel that in the writing process, this is just my opinion and a little informed by knowledge, but it seems that New Sun was a book that was written with such care. And one of the things Wolfe wanted to do was to take like really mind-expanding ideas and to convey them to the reader through the lens of someone who couldn't possibly describe it well to the reader. It's a very evocative experience. I feel like Wolfe is still trying to do that in Urth, but I feel like he is more hurried in his writing process and less successful at it. And it results in writing that is often not evocative in the way that New Sun is, but is more muddy. And a lot of the descriptions aren't successful in the way that they are in New Sun, in my opinion. Like, there's a lot of sections where stuff's being described, but it just seems like it seems like the unreliable quality of Severian's narration does a disservice to Urth sometimes, where it's just not evocative or interesting in the same way, and the reader is just sort of flummoxed, you know, and just kind of skips over it.
I feel like almost that totally makes sense. I feel like almost in New Sun, it's more, the descriptions are more suggestive and they're more like metaphorical. Where here, maybe it's more like trying to be. It still is, obviously, but it seems like they're more drawn. The descriptions are more drawn out and like technical, which makes sense for the person who's writing it.
Yeah.
But like that could be the difference. That's very interesting.
That's my take, is that this book just seems more hurried in its writing process and a little bit less, or a lot less, frankly, considered. Like, New Sun really seems like something Wolfe sat down to craft a piece of art, like, and he succeeded. And I feel like this was probably cranked out in a matter of months. That's just my opinion.
That might be part of the kind of like breezier quality that I've been feeling from it.
Yeah.
Where like it's definitely not as like methodical, I guess.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. I think in some ways the breeziness feels more like, I don't know. I find this easier to get through in some ways.
Well, I think in this book also, Severian is always doing what he's doing, and he always has something that he's doing. Mm-hmm. Whereas in New Sun, Severian's constantly getting assigned to do something and almost immediately saying, of course, I would never do that. And then like wandering around trying to find something to do.
Getting lost,
Because he won't do what he's told, you know?
Yeah.
I want
there's that also, where like Severian, instead of just like kind of being like, so I guess I'm just gonna keep walking north, I guess. You know, it's
and
like
philosophize about it.
And I had to get to the realm of story so I could save the world, and then I had to come back to the world and actually do the saving, which actually turns out to be at all points in time at once. And I don't know. I think there's that element too. He's Russian because Severian has something more to say.
It's a different kind of book.
It's also, I feel like it's got more of the hero's path, but at least the first half. Like, I feel like the first half is this very he goes into the underworld and he experiences all kinds of stuff and he returns changed. And then it seems like the second half is like, well, then what do you do?
Yeah.
There's not.
You
Well,
become
it's the
Jesus.
Paradiso more than the Inferno, right? It's the Ascension, and nobody reads the Paradiso.
Right.
There's no the other characters in Earth aren't as deep and gripping as the other characters in
Right.
Like
Well,
Right.
because they're all much more ineffable.
Yeah.
It's like Talos and
Just think of Rudson, you know?
Rudson. Yeah, like almost every supporting character in the first one is really memorable, and they have personalities and stuff. And I mean, even Gunny and Bergen Befora don't, I feel like, stand out quite that much. Afeda,
Yeah.
I don't really get anything from her.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I
she's
guess-
wholly otherworldly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of it. I mean, Jonas is a
Well, also, I mean, Severian is not really like a normal person having normal relationships. Like he is the Commonwealth or whatever. It's not like he's a different Severian is a very different character at this point.
You can see
Bethla-
Wolf trying.
Bethla a lot of the time.
You can see he's trying to make characters like Ryan. Like there's the one sailor who he meets who gives him that like little bit of philosophy, and they like shake hands, you know. And you can see like Wolf is like trying to craft characters kind of like a little bit, but it's just not as they don't stand out as much.
Yeah, they don't.
He's on a much more solitary like journey at this point. Even though he was literally alone a lot of the other time, it's like he would cling to people more. And now he's not.
This is
Yeah.
like
He's leaving
He was
all
kind of
realm
in a
of sin.
situation where Severian doesn't know what's going on at all. And Urth, he still doesn't really know what's going on, but he's the only one who knows what... He's the only one who's close to know what... He's the one who's in control this time. Like, he was not in control in New Zealand. Yeah, he was just following a path and, like, doing what came in front of him. But this, he's actually... He knows what he's doing this time. He doesn't understand the path, of course. That's like, it's like, that's different. But nobody else knows what's going on. You know, aside from Zachiel and Afeta, I suppose. Like, except for the people who do know what's going on. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's no one
He's more
around
in
him
control.
to, like, think, yeah, I'll see you later. There's no one doing that this time. He's the one who, like, has the secrets. He's the secret guy, but he doesn't know what the secrets are. He just has them.
I think that Gene Wolfe is also in this book just starting to really toy at the odd qualities of identity that he really dives into in Long and Short Sun in a whole new way. Identity in those books is really in flux in strange ways. I think that entire populaces are experiencing. And in this, it's just Severian kind of doing it. You know, like he's not being completely overwritten or anything.
No.
Like happens in the other two sons. So I think there's that element too of Gene Wolfe. This is kind of step 2 of this idea that we'll see all of the other steps in the next 2 sons.
It makes sense because Severian is kind of a parody of the ego in a lot of
Right.
ways. And then I think in Long Sun, Gene starts to like try to figure out, well, okay, so that's the parody of the thing that's wrong. Well, then what's really going on outside the ego?
No, that's an interesting thing. I feel like Long Sun is easily super ego, and that Short Sun can really easily be id.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not occurred to me to try to apply that like threefold thing to Wolf.
Me neither, but it's really working for me right now. I'll be interested to see what I think when we get into Short Sun. But I think there's totally, I like it. Doesn't it end kind of partially being narrated by an animal? What?
Is it Horn?
Well, let's not talk too much about that
Yeah,
right now.
it's been a while since I read Short Sun.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm really excited to read it now that I'm having all sorts of crazy ideas. And I've only read Short Sun 2 times.
I just started my second round on Long Sun. So that's I feel like I have to read Long Sun at least twice before I can start Short Sun.
Right.
I don't feel right reading Short Sun if I've only read Long Sun once.
It's real good.
So I'm gonna smash through those.
Short Sun is like $20. The first one is $20.
Really?
Yeah, like that's why I have that. That's why I have that one, because I found that one that has all 3 for like $20 at some point.
Oh, I'll find it.
An interesting thing about my experience of Short Sun is that as the 3rd book was coming out, I had caught up with my reading. So I got to read the 3rd book pretty much as it was coming out.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was neat.
When was that?
Like 2008-ish.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that they were so recent.
Yeah, they were all early, the naughty oddies.
Well, luckily it'll probably take us about a year or so to get to where it matters that we all have the books. So, and maybe we just like, maybe Short Sun is the one where we just can't really all have the same copy or whatever.
Maybe it'll come back into print.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we can demand.
I feel like there's a resurgence of Wolf popularity.
Maybe we can demand a reprint somehow.
We should just demand it. Tor, give us our books.
You'll sell at least 20 of them.
We can personally ensure that they will sell. You will sell at least 50.
Tor, come out with the Wolfpack edition just for us.
Macmillan
You don't
has
do it. We're gonna bootleg our own.
They have an ebook for $8. It's an ebook.
That ain't bad.
I
think
Like one,
Yeah.
Of course, I want the real one.
I'll wait
I mean,
to see
I
how
like-
desperate I am.
I like reading on an e-reader, but not with things that I feel like I have to make notes about.
Yeah,
Because you can make notes on them, but it's so clunky.
yeah, it's not the same. Also, like going to like, if we wanted, look at page like 23. It's gonna be like page 800
No,
on the
it's not good. Connor has something to say.
Yeah, to go back to the content of the book rather than the physical books themselves.
Oh, sorry.
Shit, am I going to forget what I wanted to say? Yeah, I forgot it.
Damn.
Was it about
Oh,
Earth?
No,
or-
I got it. So, like, it's interesting because the second half of Urth is kind of a J.J. Abrams trick,
Yes, it is.
where, like, the first half is like, and these are things that no one has ever experienced before, and it's completely unfamiliar when I'm telling them to you. But the second half is everything that this book has promised you, or just kind of like mentioned in passing, we see get set up, and everything is now wholly familiar in an indescribable way. You know, like we see the tower get knocked over, and we see all the pieces get put into play. Like it's like the first half of Urth is the end of the game, and now the second half is the board getting reset up. The end of the story
Yeah.
is picking the game up for the next game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Eschaton and
Totally.
Genesis in action.
Right, in that order.
And then you start the books over again.
Right.
Oh my
And that's
god.
why it has that mechanism wherein you go straight out of the end of Earth and go into the beginning of Shadow, and it just like shreds your brain.
You know, it's funny.
anyone
I actually
here-
was reading New Sun this morning because I wanted to review the section where Severian jumps the guy with an axe in the graveyard, just because that guy's mentioned. And so I read like the first chapter of Urth, and I was like, wow, this feels like, like another universe of the book, and it was awesome actually. Just to like go back to the beginning and made me want to start all over again. I love New Sun. What can I say? So good.
Has anybody here read the Dark Tower series by Stephen King?
I read a couple of
I've read
Three.
I read the first 4.
Yeah, I read the
Nobody's
first
read it all the way to the last bit of the last book.
I've never read
Unfortunately
a
not.
single word.
I couldn't. I
It-
had to jump off.
It's really interesting to read in light of the New Sun because it's Stephen King's crass attempt at doing a lot of the same stuff.
Mhm.
The
Totally.
like
Yeah, that makes sense.
collage element of it, and then also he tries to do a lupine looping, but instead of like everything's just on the surface, so there's no like learning stuff to make things seem new. It's just a very straight line story that ends with the guy being dropped right back into the first moment of the first book, like verbatim.
Mhm.
It's just such
I'd be so mad if I read all those books and that happened. I'd be fucking pissed.
but it's funny because it's just such a failed attempt to get off the ground.
Just do anything, like, if you loop back, make it different, so then you are hinted at that it's a different story the next time around.
Yeah,
At least.
King,
At least.
Stephen King, by his own like self-descriptions, is not a planner. He doesn't
No.
plan. He just writes.
I mean, there's an amazing section in Dark Tower where he actually his characters come to him in our universe after his drunken car accident, and they're like, "Hey man, what the fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah, sorry, you deserve better than me." And he apologizes to them for doing such a bad job.
His characters.
But he
His
also is
characters
so
deserve a better
literal in
author.
exactly what is going on.
No, see, like, I still respect Stephen King because he really is, like, he is very much himself. Like, I read Stephen King sometimes, and I'm just like, nobody else would fucking write this. And does
Right.
he have an editor? Does he edit his own books? That's what I want to know.
His 80s and 90s books are lit. Like, you can tell he's just like high, drunk, and just like freestyling. And I mean, some of those books hit incredible highs, and they can get very surreal too sometimes.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a good guy.
When all those people are both their adult and childhood selves and they all have sex with each other.
Yeah,
So it's crazy.
weird. It gets really weird at the end too. And
I have
I
two
mean, I don't
things
know. Oh wait, sorry, Jen.
No, it's okay. Oh, well, the first thing I wanted to say was I think we should talk about the book. But
Yeah,
also,
we can get
Don't talk
derailed.
Well, this is we're talking about how the book relates to Stephen King.
I know.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like slowly drifting.
Turning into a Stephen King.
Anyway, the other thing I just wanted to ask you, Connor, do you have your legs crossed and your computer on your legs?
Yeah, sorry.
Because it's like really disconcerting for some reason to me.
I'm a Batman villain.
Because it's like your screen is like this, and it's
Yeah.
like kind of making me queasy or something. But
Is this
it's
better?
fine. If you want it to be like that, that's okay. But if you didn't
I mean,
care,
I'm into it.
it was kind of tripping me out.
Okay.
But whatever makes you comfortable.
So, anyways, what happens?
I mean, you guys can talk about Stephen King more if you
Where
want
was
to.
sorry?
Felt
Where was
like
the
it
pencil?
starting to drift?
23.
This is Stephen King rules. In the same way that J.J. Abrams rules, they're both artists that I feel have grand plans, and we just get to watch them fail.
Yeah, but
And that's kind of
Stephen King sits and writes the whole book. J.J. Abrams gives an elevator pitch, and then other people have to write and create the thing that idea that he made with no end.
sure everybody fails in different ways. J.J. Abrams is a producer. He's not a finished thing. He is the elevator pitch guy, and then
He's also
he's
also the child of two producers. He's
Yeah.
like a copy of a copy of a producer.
He's uber producer. So let's think about that as we get into this J.J. Abrams section of Urth of the New Sun, full of lens flares and people hugging as they're reunited for the first time ever.
Connor, it's funny that you said that because I really was going. For some reason, I was going to describe this half of the book, or compare it to Lost, or like it made me think of action movies. But for some reason, I specifically wanted to say that it was like Lost, which is really weird.
Huh.
So I don't know why I thought that.
Because Lost rules.
That's probably why.
What
Did you
else?
recently watch Lost?
No.
Barf.
What?
What?
I said barf.
You just said barf.
Like you
Barf
can't
for
do that on
Lost.
television?
What?
Anyway.
Chapter 23.
Wow.
Nice.
It's like being in the book.
So in chapter 23 is when they just go down into the hell of Yasad and then go through a hole and end up in empty space falling towards the ship.
Well, so this part really makes me think of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Some of those later books where you just like have no idea what's happening.
No, the first book, this is when they go to Magrathea and the planet-making planet.
Yeah.
Right.
This is what this feels like to me. They go inside to this space that is larger than all of space, and you have to fall up out of it. I don't know. It reminds me of that, except serious.
Right.
It's
It's kind of reminiscent of, to go back to the Divine Comedy too. At the end of Purgatorio, Dante and I think it's just Dante at that point. I think Virgil drops off. He literally
can't go ahead.
But there's someone with him though. There's someone not his girlfriend, not Beatrice, but some other woman is with him. But anyway, he shoots up off the top of the mountain into heaven at the end of the Purgatorio, and it's actually like, yeah. It's very similar. I believe it's through a ring of light too. I have to go back and check that out. But
has anyone here read I Claudius or Claudius the God?
I've read I, Claudius.
But not Claudius the God?
Oh.
I bought them, but I haven't read them yet.
I wonder
I,
if
Claudius is so good.
and New Sun's supposed to be I Claudius, right? And I've always wondered if Urth would map to Claudius the God, which just from title alone seems like it would make sense.
Well, you're the only one who's read that, so
I haven't read
tell us. Oh, you haven't read Claudius the God?
No, I haven't read either. I've read the first bit of I Claudius.
Oh, okay. I thought you had read I Claudius.
Nope, haven't read it.
I thought you did.
Maybe we should club some of those sometime.
Wander
be
away
fun.
from Wolfe.
Take a Wolf break and read the thing that Wolf based his thing on.
Yeah.
Like between
I, Claudius is really fun.
between this and Long Sun. I don't know. Anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have to finish Urth first.
Right.
Yeah, so do we have anything else to say about
Chapter 23.
I mean, it's nice that he drops the we talk about the helix all the time. It's nice that he just actually drops it in.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
He brings it up.
I mean, there's some cool stuff in it. Like, I like the idea that it's a ship. What else? I made a note here that
Another idea that's going to be more fully realized
Yeah.
in Long Sun.
Yes.
there's the whole thing with so like Afeta is talking to Severian and Gunny, and she's like, Afeta's like, Zadkiel gave you this knowledge when you were sleeping, and Sev is like, you mean he came to your chamber last night? And then
Is it going to expand?
Fully
and then Gunny's like, screw you. But also it's weird because it's not like him and Gunny are like going steady or anything. I don't know. I just thought that was weird.
I think that's how
Their
well
relationship
ship-
is odd.
And then remember I was talking about like the muddy kind of quality of the writing? Like, I feel like one such instance is on like 167 when, you know, he's talking about like the seeking the void, and then it rises in front of him and becoming a sphere, and then, you know, he can feel himself getting like pulled into it. Like, you know, I can kind of visualize it, but I had to read it multiple times and didn't find it worth. I don't know. That was just an instance where I thought it was just the writing was becoming less successful.
I feel like it's not as effective. I feel like the when he talked about the like the picture that he comes through,
Yeah.
that it reminds me of the one in the house. Absolute. Like, I feel like that like worked better.
Yeah.
But maybe that's because it's connected to something we had kind of already experienced in this universe.
He's describing a black hole, right?
That's what he seems to say. Yeah.
So the information of the description just can't get outside of the idea and to us because it's of a black hole.
Well, it's also
gravity is
like-
such that nothing can escape.
That's
Well, it's
convenient.
also like he's disoriented. It's like
Right.
it's like you're demanding that he like perfectly describe in a like really like a super concise, intelligible way the feeling of being totally disoriented, fluttering through space. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't have any kind of formal training.
I
in
might be
writing,
coming
but-
from a different perspective. Like, I don't know. Obviously, like, I'm reading these books. I love it when the writing is like evocative and confusing, and when you have to decipher it and interpret it. I just feel like sometimes here it does a disservice. Like, it's not done. It's pulled off. Like what? I don't know.
This is also, we've been going through a part where, so Severian kind of is the most important person in the world. And the whole time he's been writing about being on Earth. And as he's writing, he always knows that he's the most important person on Earth. And this section, he's still the most important person on Earth, but we're not on Earth anymore, and there's some people who are more important than him.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to dip back into where he definitely is the most important person again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because he went and visited those people who are more important than him. And that was uncomfortable and probably very difficult to talk about. But now we're going to get back to where definitely everyone we meet is less than Severi, according to Severi.
Oh, one part of the I feel like I feel you, Tim, that there's a balance you have to strike between expressing how confounded your character is and keeping me, the reader, giving a shit or like impressed. And I feel like one place where he's really successful with this is in, I think it's the next chapter, when he talks about Zadkiel's hand coming down and then Zadkiel.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That part is incredible.
Yeah.
That part's pretty cool.
The finger.
Yeah.
You can really see you can see that like this incredibly expensive CGI sequence.
Right.
That's maybe one of the more direct ways of describing an impossible thing happening that we get from Wolfe in these books.
Yeah, it's very literal. Like the cow, Zadkiel has a huge hand because Zadkiel's huge, and then the hand, the finger becomes a little Zadkiel that separates off, and the pacing of that description is really good too. Like you're there feeling like, oh my god, what's happening? Watching this impossible thing be conjured before your eyes. I love that. That's like the target that I associate with Wolfe. And I wonder
that's a
why
very
Colin's
like
to be there.
French comics, like Mobius kind of thing happening, which I feel like we don't get all the time here, partly because there's so much of the language of it is so like self-recursive and like impenetrable in some way. I don't know. I don't have a good way of describing it, but I feel like we get the like CGI sci-fi moment here that we don't always get before this.
Mm-hmm. The relationship with Gunny is curious in these chapters.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we want to get there yet, but I'm a little confused about Gunny and Burgundiphora or whatever her name is, and I guess how time travel works in the New Sun universe or multiverse. Maybe stop me if I'm going too far ahead, but so there's Burgundiphora and Gunny, and Gunny remembers Severian, right, from her past when she was Burgundiphora, when she Gunny remembers him from that, and because they were like lovers when she was younger, right? You follow?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Gunny tells Burgundiphora, "Don't change your name to Gunny because you're going to regret that." How come she's Gunny when she meets Severian? That would imply that their timeline split, right?
Right.
However, how could Gunny remember Severian, meeting Severian, right, and being his lover, if she met, if she met him at this, if that was Gunny, right? If that was Burgundiphora meeting Severian, wouldn't she not have changed her name?
I believe she talks about the doubling of memory she has now because of existing kind of in two different timelines at once at some point. I think
Gunny does or Burgundiphora does?
I forget which one.
So I think Gunny does Gunny not go back to Earth? Gunny doesn't go back to Earth. Burgundiphora
Gunny doesn't.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
They're different people. Still.
They're different people.
Person.
Right. So then how does Gunny, because when Gunny meets Severian, she remembers him when they meet in the beginning of this book, right?
It could very well be that she just doesn't go back with him.
Yeah, she's from another possible Earth.
She had a thing with him, and then they parted ways. There's the part earlier on where he says, "I thought I would never see Gunny again." No, that was Gunny, not Burgundiphora. He knew he would never see Gunny again. Okay, I'm thinking of a different part. That's
Yeah, I mean, is the paradox I'm describing, is everyone following that? Or is that, am I not understanding things?
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I just think,
I think the characters also understand that paradox and talk about it.
Okay.
I think that, by having two different experiences, they become two different Gunnies. But they are the same person.
Well, and it doesn't mean they don't have any overlap.
Doesn't mean they don't, yeah.
I mean, they are the same person, just as the person you are when you're young is the same person that you are when you're older. They are still the same person, they just exist at right angles in time to each other.
But the Gunny who meets Severian in this timeline, right, when he comes back to the ship after his gallivanting about in space, when he meets her, when he comes back in, she sees him and she's like, and she doesn't tell him this, right? But she's like, I know that guy because I met him when I was, 20 years old and just started out sailing here when he came back in time, and we were involved, right? But that can't happen. Like, Gunny wouldn't be there. She would have changed her name because she would have met future Gunny at that time. But even if that hadn't happened, I don't know.
But there's multiple.
Yeah.
There's countless
There was no
bunnies and
future
countless Severians on the ship.
When Burgundiphora came on board
Okay.
and changed her name to Gunny, she never met an older Gunny because there wasn't one. That was the first time that Gunny was on board.
Yeah, and
And
all
then
the timelines
Steph
don't.
was there too.
Every
Gunner-
individual experience doesn't have to resolve into a unified narrative. Like
Right.
the traveling through time, like it's every single individual instance has their own past, present, and future, and they don't like shifting around or meeting yourself doesn't mean both people's experiences like morph into making something that like coincides.
Yeah.
Right.
I
It's not like
think
Back to the
the reason-
Future.
Right.
It's
I
not
think
Back
the
to the
reason that
Future's
can
wrong.
happen.
Yeah, there's
reason
not
that can
a
happen
single
is because
objective
they're-
timeline.
Yeah. The reason that can happen is because they're on the ship. Hildegren died when there became two of him
Hmm.
on Earth. But on the ship, you have to be able to exist at multi points in time at the same time, or else the ship wouldn't work. Because it's going anywhere and everywhere. Right?
Yeah, the ship leaves time.
It doesn't even, when it comes back, whatever that means, it doesn't even know when it's going to be. Right?
Not exactly.
Severian
That's
doesn't
a
know
good
where he is
question.
at all. He could be
It's at all
anywhere.
time. When it comes back to all times and only exists in time.
Right.
There's a
Does the
theory
ship-
in
does-
physics that there's in all of existence there's only one electron that is just rapidly going in and out of space
Whoa.
over and over again, and I think the ship is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just a thing. It's just a thing. That-
Right. At all points in time that it is also all points in time. It's an aleph.
An aleph?
Yeah, like from the Borges book, the aleph.
I don't
That
know what it
tracks.
is.
I haven't read that one.
It's a good one. Everybody should read it.
It's the first letter of the alphabet.
All right. Well, thanks for indulging me on some timeline talk. I think, it's just.
But it's not a timeline, it's a time point.
A time what?
Point?
Point?
Time point.
Yeah. Because it's all of time at once is one thing.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think also in this section, it's made clear that, and it's been made clear before, but like the ship isn't even really like a specific thing.
Right.
Like the ship is changing all the time. The ship is kind of like some kind of weird psychological landscape.
Yeah.
The ship is like the vessel that you need as a person to
Right.
understand being out of time.
It's this pataphoric realization of the Platonic ideal of shipdom.
Right.
For all
And
you
it's weird.
people.
For whoever
weird.
you are.
That's why I think it's the ship that is on Severian's mausoleum.
Yeah.
It does seem to change between when before Severian gets to Yesod and afterwards. Obviously,
And the whole time he's in there, it's changing.
yeah, but
'Cause, like,
you get less of
Zadkiel-
an idea of that.
Zadkiel is like the captain and the ship, kind of, right?
Right. Like
And
David
like
Jones in,
Zadkiel is
Black-
constantly
Pirates of the Caribbean too.
is constantly changing form. The ship is constantly changing form. There isn't like if you're outside of space time, you're not like a specific form either.
Mm-hmm.
Which
It's like
again
a
is very much
potential.
like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I think in order for us
Mm-hmm.
to encounter or experience something outside of time, you need like an idea or a framework to like take you from what you understand here into something alien, and so like that idea is like a ship, and a ship is like an idea.
I mean, Gunny even says it on 186. She says, until she slows down, she isn't really a ship at all.
Right.
We're like a wave or a shout going through the universe.
Right.
It's like
I love that part.
it's like a potentiality, an amorphous potentiality, and like a million different things at the same time, until it's necessary for it to be like one thing, so that you can like get off of it or onto it or whatever.
So I think that this relates to what Gene Wolfe says in the beginning about symbols, kind of.
Yeah.
That like the way that you climb up outside of time to a timeless moment is through symbols and ritual. Like it's why an important part of the trip, I think, is this symbol with the floating skulls, or the ritual of the floating skulls, his orientation ceremony, because that's the first rung of symbols that he's going to climb to the idea of ship and the idea of trial, this Campbell kind of story, you know? And we're going to climb back down those symbols into a moment where the ship is just a ship again. The collapse of the probability wave now.
Yeah. Which is also a Douglas Adams thing, right? Like, remember in Hitchhikers when I think they're being accosted by the bad aliens or whatever, and they have to turn on the probability machine and it produces a whale. It's actually really Wolfian, right? Like
exactly. Totally. There's so much.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of that now.
And Gene Wolfe is probably watching Douglas Adams' Doctor Who episodes as he's writing a lot of.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Douglas Adams worked for Doctor Who. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Which doctor?
The 70s guy, Dr. Four.
Oh, Bob Dylan.
The one with the really long scarf.
Yeah, Bob Dylan.
It's Dr. Bob Dylan to you.
We're still technically on chapter 24. Is that what we're on? The captain?
Yeah.
Time doesn't exist. Page numbers don't exist.
Yeah.
It ends with that.
We're in the
really good
Platonic
quote,
ideal of
"Yours is a race
chapters."
pawns.
The pawns.
You move forward only unless we move you back to the game again. But not all the pieces are pawns. I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
That helps to understand, I feel like, a little bit about Gunny's situation. I mean, I guess, like, you'd have to bring a new pawn onto the board for it to make, like, have two or something to make it make total sense, but, like, you move forward, and then maybe you go back and move forward again.
Well, it's like queening, right? She gets you get to the end of the board and you get back one of the pieces that have been taken.
Does the pawn transform, or do you just get them both? How does it work?
Yeah, it turns into a queen.
Yeah, you swap it.
You transform.
Yeah, but in this metaphor, humans are pawns, and like pyroduals and stuff are all like the bishops, right? Like the hierogrammates are like the knights or something, right? Like Zach isn't saying that not all humans are pawns, but just that humans are pawns.
Mm-hmm.
But not all pieces are. Yeah, okay.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Well, and all the inhuman things are in some way building off of humans, and in that way they're part of the spectrum of humanity.
Yeah,
I feel like incumbent upon me to say, because I'm a transhumanist and I fight for robot rights.
It's interesting too. It's like what is different between them? The way they move, the way they can move, is what makes the chess pieces different from one another.
Yeah.
That's a cool loaded thing to put into this seemingly simple metaphor.
Well, it's
Don't
also
we get
like
some-
dimensionality. It's also like dimensionality, right? Like if like a pawn can only move in like one type of line. Yeah, like There's,
Yeah.
it's like a restriction. It's like a psychological restriction.
You can sidestep though. Let's
Yeah.
if you want to. I mean, keep going with the metaphor. Like when
I
you
mean, sure.
Yeah.
They're also
Yeah.
the most essential piece.
yeah.
Well, we have free will. We can sidestep as well.
Yeah. But we have to keep going in our one axis.
Right.
And only to kill an enemy. That's the.
We're gonna get some more literal chessboard symbolism, I think, as we interact with the Brook Madrigal, don't we? When he first is looking at the branching of possibilities, doesn't it kind of look like chessboards in that field?
Where is that happening?
I haven't got there yet.
Brook Madrigal,
What
as he,
chapter?
I don't
that's
remember.
like another weird part.
We haven't gotten to that yet.
That part's cool though.
I'm not there yet.
Up like around 28 or so.
Oh.
The village beside the stream?
I think. Or no, I'm wrong. It's after he's fleeing the tower.
I have to go make a stream.
I think maybe we haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, I'm gonna do
Yeah,
that
it's
too.
after the Citadel again. Oh yeah, I love how we're getting into all these chapters that's like this again, that again.
He gets to do a lot of things again.
The club.
I like in this chapter when Zach takes him down that secret corridor and then it turns into like he's outside. There's like wind and he's like in a field or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cool part of the ship that
Yeah.
Keel gets to hang out in.
Yeah. It's like a hollow suite of the mind.
Hollow suite of the mind. And the body.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Body gets it too.
The body secretes the mind. The body is a gland for mind.
Mind gland.
Yeah.
Mind gland.
Mind gland.
All right, so what's happening now? We're just waiting for everybody to come back from the bathroom.
I think
Passion and
Ryan and
passageway.
Ryan.
What?
Passion in the past.
Oh, the name of the chapter.
Yeah.
It's a silly name.
170.
Yeah. Thekla comes back and hooks up with him, I guess.
Ridiculous.
Maybe he thinks that it's her.
Yeah.
How?
A Quaster Thekla, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe just a dream. I feel like there's no like
Yeah.
You
There's
said
no
about
evidence.
way of proving any of it. He's just like, I feel like this happened. I'm like, okay, cool.
But in
Sev
this
has gone,
realm,
like,
dream
days
has
without
more
voting.
reality.
Totally.
But-
Totally.
Inside.
There's a cat behind this curtain.
No. Is it Ronnie?
No, it's garlic.
Garlic.
My cat is inside of Kenny's laundry right now.
It's cute.
Cats.
All right.
I also thought I just really like this line on 185 where she says, "Gunny told me your name. It's a beautiful name, like a sword blade."
Mhm.
Yeah, that part was really cool. I took note that part was cool as well.
There's like so many different things you could.
If you
read
want to
in that.
thank someone, you should say that to them. You should be like, your name. It's like a sword. What?
Good idea.
You just gotta say it's sexy and then they'll love it.
Totally, yeah.
Your name
Remember
is
that
a killing word.
Remember that LL Cool J song where he says, "My head is like a shark fin"?
What?
I
I
think it's
don't
my
remember
hat
that.
is like a shark's fin.
What?
Isn't it my hat is like a shark's fin?
No, I thought he said my head.
Oh.
My head
Maybe-
is like a shark.
Oh, it would be funny if it's hat and I've thought head this whole time.
Only one of us is
Probably.
an ex-rapper, so maybe.
Is he talking about his upstairs head or his downstairs head?
Oh. Oh.
And why would either of them be like a shark fin?
Yeah.
No, they are.
It's the song from that movie that he was in with the sharks.
According to Genius.com, it is hat. Which that always blew my mind. It's so my hat is like a shark's fin. It's just like the most insignificant boast you could come up with.
Weird
Weird.
flex. Definitely a weird flex.
Oh, well, I will continue to think it's
Maybe
what
it's
I
just a really
think.
tall hat. Like it like you could really see it in a crowd.
And the hook of the song is deepest bluest. My hat
Deepest
is like
bluest.
a shark's fin.
It's in the hook. Wait a minute. That's in the hook.
That is the
That is
hook.
right,
That's
that
the
is
whole
the
hook.
That's the hook. Deepest, bluest, my head is like a shark's fin.
My hat is like a shark's fin. Who cares?
That's
So
not
weird.
good.
It's so bizarre.
He
Which
literally
one-
came up
is
with
this
that
the one
moment
where
before
Samuel
laughing.
Jackson has a big monologue about the Himalayas.
What?
What movie is this?
Where-
Deep blue, I think.
Deep Blue Sea.
Something I can't remember what it's called.
Is that
It's like
not the one where Samuel Jackson has a big monologue about the Himalayas and then a smart shark eats him?
I will admit that I haven't seen the LL Cool J shark movie. I just remember it happening, and I remember that song.
Jeez, guys, come on!
Sorry,
Deep Blue Sea, 1999.
Sorry, Con.
sorry, Connor.
Anyway, Passion and Passageway.
I think it is. Samuel L. Jackson's in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. That movie's insane. It's about super smart sharks. It's like Jurassic Park with sharks.
Cool.
And not good.
Finally.
I always get it mixed up with Sphere.
Connor, what
Oh,
did you want to
that's,
say about?
Sphere is Solaris underwater.
Oh, that's a pretty good remake. Or actually, I saw it when it came out. And maybe
The
it
Abyss
hold up.
was better.
I can't.
Anyway,
I can't think of
Passion
any
and
other.
Passageway. Passion and Passageway. He hooks up with Thekla for like one page.
Ghost
you mean he
Thekla.
jacks off?
Yeah, I think it's a wet dream. I think it's a wet dream.
Yeah, he jacks
Uh,
off.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I
He jacks
know.
off. It's just that the object. Of
I
his
know.
He jacks off. It's just that the object of his fantasy happens to be inside of his mind, also. Like,
It would make sense that Severian's like, oh, I'm in the realm where like dreams are more or as real as reality. You know what I should do is some sex stuff.
Totally. Why not?
He's always ready.
I should have
He's
sex
like, I'm
with
on a
my
space-
woman still.
I'm on a spaceship outside of reality. I wonder what jacking off is like out here.
Have we
What do
ever
you
talked about the possibility that Thekla is as self-centered as Severian?
Yeah, well, I mean, in this, they say like Thekla is not a good person,
Yeah, the only good person seems to be Dorcas,
right?
the ideal person.
Yeah, Thekla did whip those people in the prison.
Yeah, I
Sarah
think
Fast-
she was a spoiled rich bitch. I think she was a fucking Heather.
Sarah Fasca texted me a picture yesterday of a screen cap of Jeopardy, and the middle person's name was Dorcas.
Oh,
Dorcas.
I want you guys to know.
I am Dorcas.
Dorcas was the name of my mother's first car.
Really?
Yeah.
What do y'all think of the half-human brutes and grotesque helmets who are guarding his room?
They're cool.
That's cool.
Isn't he kind of constantly being guarded by half-human brutes?
Yeah.
Throughout
This is
the
the
whole-
first time he's like, hey, there are these people. Like, he doesn't call them human. Like, he
Yeah.
says they're half human. Like they're like weird goblins that are just outside his room, and that's the first time anything like that has happened.
No, I mean they're related to the guys in the walls at the end of Shadow of the Torturer, right?
Right.
Yeah, the cynocephalics.
And then also those dudes that are guarding the like the silver wagon he's got to protect
Right.
at the end of the whatever Autark or sword or whatever one that one's in.
So they're specifically at his disposal because he's the Autark. Is that kind of part of it?
Yeah, that is Praetorian Guard.
Yeah.
Praetorian. Yeah.
I am Dorcas.
Yeah, I mean, it's too bad we don't have a clip of Trebek being like, Dorcas.
Yep. He spent some time thinking about every woman he's ever been with.
As he does every time he has sex.
Every time. Yeah.
That reminded me of that. What's the walk hard part? Is like every time Dewey Cox plays a song, he has to think about his entire life, and that's what's happening here.
Is that movie good?
I haven't seen it. I just know that part. And I read a thing about it recently, but like that, I read this part again, like shortly after reading that article about Walk Hard, and yeah, it's like, I mean, it's riffing on the wow, it's riffing on the Johnny Cash movie thing.
I think I
where
read that same article recently.
He's like staring at his saw blade or something, and it's like you gotta think about your whole life every time you play a song.
I try to think about my whole life at every moment of my life.
Seems tough.
This is the chapter where Sev trips out and goes into another alien reality, right? He's like running down the hallway. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh right, yeah, like he goes too fast and like the
Yeah.
ship just like not holding together around him.
It
And he
can't
passes
keep
out.
up with what he needs it to be, and so it becomes like, and that's when it reveals that it's like kind of like a space worm or something.
Well, the thing is he thinks he's tricking the ship, but he is intentionally trying to get to a part of the ship, or like he's trying to change the ship. That's like he's like, I'm gonna jump here, and then they're not gonna know. So it's funny that he thinks he's outsmarting the ship, and the ship is doing exactly what he's asking for.
Right.
He's just not ready for it.
Yeah, he's totally not. He's like, I'm gonna figure out what happens if I don't do what the ship wants, and the ship's like, okay, you don't want to see what this is? All right, here you go.
Yeah, the gun doesn't want to kill.
And
it does.
It overcomes him. He doesn't have any room to breathe once he gets what he wants there.
It does suggest that there is like a base reality for the ship, though. You know, that, or unless you like. Because, like, let's say that reality is the reality that one type of species sees or whatever when they're on the ship. But why would he go into that one? Like, it seems like he has approached maybe like what the real ship is like.
But
it's like
all something he's like, he has tried to make happen. You know, like it's coming through him. I feel like this is like a very much a Severian is the narrator is Severian kind of situation where he wants to get to some underlying true thing, but it has to come through him, and it's initiated by him too. It's like
interesting. And that's what it shows him is like the craziest thing it can at that moment.
Or I think it's like his it's like interacting with his mind and his expectations. He's trying to find something that he doesn't know what it is, and then he gets something that he doesn't know what it is.
He's constantly fucking up throughout this book. Like,
and then he just passes out.
Yeah.
He's always passing out too. But before we're done, I'm gonna do a count of how many times in this book Sev passes out. It's like every chapter for the first 10 chapters. And seriously. And also like him like just flying around. Like, I'm flying through space. Like Sev is constantly just in free fall, like just floating around, shooting around, you know, like seriously, I'm gonna do a count. For next week, I'm going to count all the instances. I'll bring them back. I'll let you all know.
I'm into this because I'm interested in your count.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think like I'm really into the idea of that new
He
son
gets a new
is
body.
ego, and that Urth, in particular, is a book about ego loss.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that the ego is flying around. Like he physically, just his body being towed after a ship went through a black hole and exited physical reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was towed after the ship as it did that. He wasn't even on the ship. Yeah. So yeah, that imagery makes sense as a symbol for ego loss.
It seems
So
totally
they're
thematic. Yeah.
And now he's coming down from that trip,
Yeah.
and he'll be climbing down through Jesus imagery
Yeah.
into a whole new world. Ushas. Ushas.
Ushas.
I've been loving that name lately, and I've been writing a bunch, and I named some characters Ushas.
Some characters,
Yeah.
like they all have the name Ushas.
It's several different realizations of the same character.
Cool.
I'm really writing 5-dimensionally right now, guys.
Oh, Connor, I like the poems that you sent me a few weeks ago. I
thank
never
you.
responded to your email, but I did read them several times and found them very interesting. You know,
Thank you very much.
I like getting that little window into your creative world. It's cool.
Plague gods. I don't normally write poetry.
Could have fooled me.
Well, thank you.
Wow. Cool.
They can tell you make it, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm having a good time trying to come up with new poetic forms. Like each poem, I want to completely start from scratch and come up with a new form for it.
Yeah.
It can be fun.
It can be fun to stay on a form too, though.
Yeah, really feel it out.
Yeah.
Is
Because then you
this Pluto?
find out all the different ways you can play within it.
That's true. You're right.
Maybe Connor's kind of like, it seems like maybe you're playing with the form, you're playing with a different form, right? Are you
The
playing with
form
like
of forms.
a form is the concept that you're playing with in a different form every time?
I mean, that, yeah. That
That
makes sense to me.
All right.
We'll see. We'll see if I finish writing those poems.
I like saying things that make sense.
Well, let's talk about this book then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Return to Earth.
I think we're on Gunny. Oh, do you want to skip Gunny and Burgunda Fora? Or
No.
We sort of touched on it a little bit, but
yeah.
Oh, this is also
Connor's got
this chapter.
shit to
Gunny
say
and
about Gunny.
This is where Asapago and Fem. This is like the real first time he meets them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
the
what
first
the
time they
fuck?
meet him.
What were they doing when they were like, "Oh, we don't know you"? You know,
I
because
think
they're moving backward.
you think that things change now? That things have already changed.
Well, so there's a part of me that thinks that maybe they don't only move one way in time. That like when they met Severian, they were moving backwards to him. But that operation's done, and so maybe this is at a point in their future that they're meeting him again.
Maybe because it happens
They're in
in
their
the
path.
Gunny. Because it happens in the Gunny chapter that, and then Tim was talking about like, how is this happening? How is it different? Maybe it's a clue that like time isn't set in stone here. That like they thought
Oh,
in the beginning, yeah, like this was maybe that really was their first meeting of Severian. But
Right.
that is not necessarily always going to be true. And
Well,
now
this could be a realization of the trio that this is the only time they meet Severian.
oh shit, totally, maybe.
Because
Why
there's got to be versions of them that never meet Severian.
And they were specifically asked to go there, right, by Sakiel? Is that why they were there?
I don't
I can't
remember.
remember. Someone
Yeah, well-
specifically asked them to go there.
the earlier time in this book, which they and Severian seem to think is their first meeting, they are specifically looking for him. And then this time, they don't know who he is. So it's
Totally.
like, yeah, like this is almost before they meet him. This is just them passing him by on the street before they've been told, hey, that guy's important.
But they would remember him now because they have his name and everything. I do think. Wait, is it true? That they were specifically sent there by somebody.
Yeah, to keep him away from getting killed by that first assassin. At least that's what Severian
That's the first time. But the second time, they were like, oh, we don't even know yet. Yes. We only came to bring you here. Zachiel sent us for you, but you were gone. They were sent to bring him to where he already was anyway. So I think Zachiel, who probably, I'm assuming, has some like other knowledge of what's going on than we have, maybe like sent. Why would they send them there as a? I don't know, but yeah, I think it is significant that they were going there. In the first time in this book that we see them, they were going there of their own accord. They wanted to do it. They knew about him. And this one, it's just like, we need to find some guy for this other dude. I don't know. Let's go.
Something like that.
It's such a quick little. It's like less than a full page, really, that they show up again.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, you're right, though. It is them just, like, passing. They're like, okay, our work here's already done. Let's get out of here. They don't give a shit. So that's Severian. But in the first one, they're like, Severian, we came to see Severian. Like, they know about him. They think he's cool. Interesting. So, yeah, this could be a totally different guy. Of course, the same guy.
There's also, just out of a happenstance here, a sentence where we see Afida and Zach next to each other. And that's interesting because with Zach's nickname here, that's the first and last letter of our alphabet, our Alpha and Omega.
It's true.
Which is a name for God. Also, we get here the information that the ship doesn't come within Pluto's orbit.
Right.
They have to use UFO flying saucer tenders to get home.
I feel like if the ship is an idea, that makes a lot of sense. That like our feeling of Earth and where we know the rules and everything, like our territory extends out to Pluto. From that point on, everything is so theoretical that it could be, it has little relation to our certainty. But our certainty seems to go to Pluto.
In that, thinking in that line, though, there was an interesting thing discovered about 2003 that so the Oort cloud is the ice that exists at the farthest reaches of our solar system, like where the sun's rays no longer travel, ice forms, and that's the Oort cloud. And our Oort cloud commingles with the Oort cloud of our closest star. So in that way, there really isn't a furthest extent of our solar system. We bleed into the next solar system. We share an object in common.
That's interesting because it's not that like is contrary to, I feel like, the popular conception of like the way we're kind of taught, I think, as kids to think about the solar system is like, here we are in the middle. You go outside of the Earth's atmosphere and it's quiet and it's lethal and it's freezing. And then once you get past there's these planets that orbit our sun, and once you get past there, it's all kind of just a big wasteland.
Which, I mean, but during our childhood, that's all we could know. But now we know that's not true. They looked at how the information was trending recently, the past couple of years, and they figured out, okay, looks like mathematically every star has a solar system, and probably every solar system has a fairly Earth-like planet to it. Just from because we've discovered so many exoplanets.
which is what the Kabbalists have been saying since the beginning.
Mormons too.
Well, Mormons don't have quite a deep reach into history.
But for whatever reach they do have,
They do a good job. But people are. I feel like online and stuff, you always see people talking about how Copernicus was put to, was hanged or spanked or whatever for.
Oh, yeah,
believing
Giordano
that there was
Bruno.
4 planets and suns.
Giordano Bruno.
Giordano Bruno is the one that got in trouble for saying exactly that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Giordano Bruno was a straight up wizard. He was into Kabbalah and Neoplatonic ideas. He didn't get those ideas from some Neil deGrasse Tyson shit. He got it out of tomes of ancient wisdom.
The ancient Dogon.
What?
They're this African tribe in Mali that has ancient wisdom because they talked to aliens and got information about the star Sirius.
It's cool how also scientific people are really against the idea, or the kind of popular conventional science dogma is it's are really offended by suggestions that aliens have interacted with humans because it's slighting humans. You're saying oh, you
Yeah.
don't think humans could make that? You have to what? We have to have aliens? It's what a strange attitude.
Yeah.
What?
I mean,
you
because
want-
yeah, that's kind of exactly what I think. Humans couldn't make that.
Like it somehow diminishes people if we're not the ultimate, most intelligent, capable thing in the entire universe. How offensive to suggest such.
I think it's so depressing to think that we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I hope that's
Isn't
not
the
true.
best the universe could do?
Ugh.
Jordan just left and then got in the chat and says she doesn't have the internet.
Oh no.
Oh,
How did that happen?
boo.
Where'd the internet go?
I don't know. I guess it went out in her building or something.
That happened to me last session.
I'm gonna tell her.
I don't
to
see
get the
Jordan's
internet.
message.
Tell her to use her phone.
Call. I think that's how she's in the chat.
Right. Well, she should be able to join the video with her
She
phone.
unplugged it and replugged it in. The classic.
The class.
She says hi to everyone.
Hi, Jordan.
Is there anyone
Alright.
else in the chat?
Allegedly, there's 2 other people watching, but they have not chatted.
Classic. Also.
Mystery.
Are we waiting for Jordan? It seems like we're waiting for
Good.
Jordan.
We should wait for
She
Jordan.
says, "Okay, BRB." Oh, I think that maybe she's responding to the thing about her phone. There's that time delay, so
Right.
it makes the chatting is always interesting because it's across a very Earth-like, Earth of the New Sun time distortion.
Sure.
Is anyone chatting on there?
No,
No.
not today. Allegedly, they're looking, but they're not chatting.
That's too bad because we've really had some good talks today. I feel like we could have used some
We really
chime
got our
in
shit
from
this time.
the audience.
Well, we are now on chapter,
Chapter
27.
27.
Yeah, we
Not
are.
as good as 23. Just in terms of the echo effect.
27.
I like that one. I like that.
Delay
modulation.
It has to
I'm
have
reading-
that voice too.
I'm reading The Witcher in real life outside of the book club group.
How's it going?
I'm really enjoying it. It's so weird and Polish, and it's just dark fairy tales. Like, there's one story that is definitely Snow White, but they were going to kill Snow White because she was a monster, and this is the monster's revenge. and there was a story that was
Yeah.
that kind of like touched upon Cinderella at one point. It's really interesting. I like it a lot.
Oh, Carolyn says hi too. She's in the chat.
Okay.
Hello.
Welcome back.
We're talking about chapter 27.
Yeah, return
to Earth.
Return to Earth.
Yeah, he bones Little Gunny.
He really is so just like annoying.
He can't help it. He does it with every single woman. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
It's Zeus-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's Adam Cadmon. He is the idea of man, and he has sex with every woman.
What? Who's that?
Severian,
Who's Adam Cadmon?
the first man, the ideal man.
Oh.
Is that what Cadmon means?
Oh.
Codmone is probably
Cadmon.
what it would actually.
It's very in line with New Sun first Sev to, do it with Gunny, and then to also like do it with like the younger sister version of Gunny who's herself. Like it's just it's
If he gets anywhere near any woman,
kind of
he just
dudeish. Yeah. It's kind of
Gunny's attitude towards it is so weird. She's just like, oh, goodbye. Like, what the fuck? Did you talk about that already? She's like, oh, I was a girl once. Goodbye, Severian. It's so
I think
weird. It's so weird.
She's like, oh, okay, my younger self is here now. Like, bye.
Yeah.
Maybe she's still mad that he boned a Feta.
Maybe she's like, I'm done with all that.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She's just like, oh yeah, you can hang out with my younger self now, and you guys can go to Earth, and I'm gonna like try to like live a sort of life that I want to live that has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, each and every person is a shining star.
Has she been waiting for Severian to come back this whole time? Like, what is going on here? I don't really get it.
I mean, we're all waiting for Severian to come back the whole time, right?
I don't get it either.
And, okay, I have another question. So, Burgundafora signs on to the ship. She leaves Earth. She gets there. She sees Severian, and then she immediately leaves. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
And she's just like, cool. Why?
She just immediately returns to Earth. Yeah.
I think part of it is because she meets her older self.
Yeah.
And is like, this person seems really fucked up.
Oh, yeah, true.
She is utterly unsatisfied with her life, and I'm not gonna do that to myself. Like,
that's what it. Yeah.
It seems pretty obvious to me.
Definitely. Okay, you're right.
Because she's like, I know it's kind of bad to feel sorry for yourself, but like, what if you meet yourself later and you feel sorry for yourself?
Yeah, then you would definitely make another choice. Absolutely. I didn't get that. You're totally
It's kind
right.
of two different metaphors for self-actualization, where one woman like sees herself when she's young and full of expectation, and is like, fuck this, I'm gonna just live amongst the ideas of the stars. And the other woman meets her future self, her destiny, and is just like, oh fuck that, I'm just gonna do something else.
Right.
Because they are different people.
Right.
Well, and they're both trying to like not do, like, they're both trying to divert away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they both don't want.
They're a hyperbola. Two ships passing in the night, but the ships are both the same ship at different points in their life, but now that they've met, they're not that anymore.
It's just weird. Like, does everyone who goes on the ship meet future versions of themselves? Like, is that like the first thing that happens to you as soon as you enlist on the ship? You're like, oh, here's future you. And wouldn't many future yous be like, go home? This sucks.
Here's the part of the ship where we store all the different versions of you.
Right.
It's like
Don't
It's
talk
like-
to them.
seems like
Don't
it
tell
would
you
be
to go
regular.
away.
seems like
I
you
mean,
would
it
constantly.
makes sense to me that the ship is a psychological landscape.
Yeah,
That's like the best way that I have of describing what it is, if it is anything. Like, it's a place in your psyche, kind of.
yeah.
And so it's going to have like a different iteration for different people.
Yeah, that makes sense. But everyone gets smooched. The moment you sign on, you get a big ol' smooch.
Yeah.
No matter what. Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to hook up with Severian on some timeline.
It's bound to happen.
it's,
God,
it's a rite of passage.
kind of
for
like Joe Biden. He sounds like Joe Biden. You're like, no, and he's like, oh. and then he's like, and I'm gonna be your ruler too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good guy.
Aren't you gonna fight for me?
Fine,
To which I
we'll
say,
fight for you.
nah, I'm good. Nah. Good luck with all that.
Good luck.
Oh, it's gonna
But
be
they
so
did fight for
cool when
Severian.
Hillary gets officially picked to be VP.
Gunny did.
Yeah, only Gunny did.
Well, no, everybody at the trial fought.
Yeah, but they weren't.
But they were Quasters.
But they were ripped from his mind.
I guess they didn't have to fight for him, right? Isn't that part of the deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
Like they could
Seinfeld,
have.
the final Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, except everyone's like, these guys are okay, I guess.
I love thinking about that. I love thinking about that so much.
Yeah, Larry David was a huge Gene Wolfe fan, so it makes sense, He's primary influence.
There is no way on God's green earth that
No.
could never be true.
Absolutely not.
You don't think Larry David would have the patience for?
There's so many reasons why that wouldn't be true.
On chapter 1, he would just be like, okay, first of all,
Also, Larry David has a.
I don't know
The
that he
gate
really
always
likes
locked.
I
Why
also
can't I
don't
lock
think
the
he-
gate to a graveyard? Who's trying to get into
I
a
also-
graveyard at 2:00 in the morning?
I also get the feeling that he doesn't really like anything.
right.
I mean, that's kind of his thing.
Right. What do you do?
Except like his Prius or whatever.
Whoa, there's dogs fighting outside.
Oh no.
Outside of your house?
Well, then she froze.
Oh, the
With
dog's
sword?
got her internet.
Fuck.
Who
That's
let the dogs out?
the hound.
What a
Oh, she's
way to
not
drop
again. Oh,
out.
no, the dogs.
The dogs ate. Oh my!
dogs.
Oh no, my
Jordan's
dogs
gone.
ate my internet.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, the
Oh,
cats.
if you
The
didn't come
cats
back, I
are
was
here.
going to have to come check on you and see if dogs got you.
Is it the same Jordan
Wild
that's come back?
dogs, Baltimore.
The dogs.
No, that's really weird.
It was the last thing we heard, Jordan, before you disappeared was, there's dogs fighting outside, and then you disappeared. It's like, oh shit. They
I was
broke through the
wondering
window.
if you heard. I was wondering if you heard that. I was like,
Yeah, that was it.
they never hear from me again. Uh-oh.
Up by the dogs.
Hey, Carolyn has a comment in the chat.
Okay, what next?
Okay, it's
Is everyone here?
He says, I had not been certain Burgundafara and I would be lovers, but we were assigned a single cabin. Like, they stuck us in a
Yeah.
room, It just had to happen.
Right. I think it would have happened regardless of how many rooms they had.
But they just put us in this one tiny room.
What are you gonna do?
yeah,
Tiny little sex room.
got it.
And apparently he's the first gentle lover she's ever had, which is ridiculous.
Is
Yeah,
but then he does
that
feel
raises a
bad
question.
about. I don't know. He gets a little sketchy here, especially with his feelings about Jolenta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's like, uh, he implies that he was like rough with her, and then he's like said that he was the most gentle. She said that he was the most gentle, and he was like, "What?" And he's like, "I guess maybe I'm just like perfect for every single person I'm with. I just like fit exactly their needs exactly on instinct. So I'm like perfect, I guess."
God, he's such a fucking
Does
asshole.
okay? So
Yeah.
the next thing
I
that
really
happens
do
is
hate him.
we learn about his
I feel like
injuries
Seb will get
going away.
pretty canceled these days.
Right.
Appropriately, he would be.
But that's
But he
like, isn't that the what an experienced savior has to go through? Getting like ultimately canceled.
Canceled on the cross.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
crucifixion
man.
is, right? The ultimate cancellation.
Jesus got canceled.
Wow. I mean, he's saying stuff you weren't supposed to say, so.
Put that one on the classic. Put that one on the classics board for the book club. That one and George Lucas being
What?
PJ Khaled. Another one.
That joke is impossible to explain to people outside of this group.
I know it really
Funny
is.
to me. I try to tell people we got this great joke, and it just doesn't work.
Well, that's why we have to be grateful that we have each other.
Yeah.
Because in general, no one knows what the fuck.
I
we're
was
talking about.
just thinking today that when we get out of quarantine, I'm gonna have to figure out how to make jokes that other like normal people understand. All my jokes are either like with you guys or like with Madison about just super niche things. Right? Like I'm not gonna be able to generalize when we go back. I'm gonna be making jokes exclusively about like pro wrestling and like obscure
Oh, no.
sci-fi or something, and like
We're
yeah.
all gonna be like the guys whose only jokes, like when we were in college, were like Family Guy references.
Right.
Only make jokes and Family Guy references. That's gonna be us, all of us.
No. I don't think so.
The Ashans.
We're getting this out. We're getting this out of our systems with each other, so that we don't have to do it to other people.
True.
Isn't that that's like a huge part of why this club exists? Because, like, if you ran into Connor at the bar, then you'd be talking about it, and everyone around you would be so irritated
Yeah.
because you were starved to talk about it, and now we have this safe space where we can talk about it.
This is a conversation killer 99% of the time.
Oh yeah.
Hey, your casual acquaintance. Hey, what are you reading?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gene Wolfe.
Or like,
Okay.
like I got
I've
a
never
book
heard
club.
of that.
I got
What's
a
it
book
about?
club meeting. Oh yeah, what are you guys reading? Well, it's sort of like a hologram, like the Bible.
You gotta read
I
it
like
3
when
times.
people.
before.
I like when people say, "Oh, you're in a book club. I'd like to be in a book club. Can I read the next book with you?"
Yeah.
Like we've been reading the same book for over 2 years.
With another 2 to
We're
go.
basically we're getting master's degrees in this one book.
Yeah.
Typically, I just try to explain that it's basically like Bible study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
But
you're
it's tough
if
to-
you're down, like you can probably join.
But the only other way you can describe it is that it's like fantasy or science fiction, and most people are like, "Oh, okay, I get what you mean. Fantasy, like The Hobbit or Star Trek or whatever."
Sure.
And yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Like it's like Game of Thrones, but weird.
I
That's
was
about
reading this. walleye tour tickets at the Club Charles, and people love asking what you're reading when you're tearing tickets at the Club Charles.
Yeah.
And I was like 24, so I tried to tell them what I was reading a bunch of the times, and that it was fun talking to those people about this and showing them the pictures that were on the cover of the book.
Well, and then you like, I would run into you at the bar across the street, and then we would start talking about it, and then everyone else that was around would get really upset and like run away.
Yep.
Which is why this club had to happen.
That's right.
Anyway, we're making good progress through this section, I think. Let's go back in. Let's go back in. Oh, I really like this line on 192 where he says, the captain of the tender says, Psychiel doesn't play tricks, though she may seem to. Tricks are for solipsists who think everything will pass away.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that when you guys were talking about how Severian was trying to like trick the ship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Being a dumbass. You're like proving how narrow-sighted you are, kind of.
Yeah.
And at the top of the next page, too, 193, or when he says, it is a lovely world, not as lovely as Yasad, perhaps, but beautiful nonetheless.
Mm.
And the captain said, we could make it as good as Yasad if we wanted to.
Yeah.
And Severian says, we will when enough of us have left it and come back.
Mm.
And I think that is like a really pretty like clear metaphor about samadhi or something,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
or
it's like
just generally like being able to distance yourself from this kind of like confined reality. If you're able to kind of like get any perspective on what's happening and then come back in, then you know that what we're all doing is fucked.
Right.
I mean, it's like, but there's just such a consensual reality is really hard to break through when everyone's just so in it.
it made me think of two things. It made me think of that thing how astronauts talk about leaving the Earth and having this like wild experience and they come back changed and feeling like a totally different perspective on their place and everyone's place in the universe. And also, it made me think of, isn't part of the backstory or like explanation of this world that like, wait, I'm like probably gonna sound really stupid right now, but like how like people left Earth and they didn't come back, right? And they did other shit.
Right. They became.
And how maybe does he know about that? So is he like that was a problem? They need to come back.
He seems to know about it.
Or do you think he's saying like talking about his experience, how he feels like weird and different now or something?
This is also kind of this is the mystery cults of ancient Greece in a way, right? They were all about when you die, don't drink from the river Lethe and forget yourself and be reincarnated and just get back into the cycle of life, death, rebirth. Say, oh no, thank you. I'd like to drink from that pool of memory over there. And then that's how you gain immortality in the Elysian fields, because you don't get sent back because you remember your life. But it's like, it's that return. In the Eleusinian mysteries, you drink from the pool of memory, and then this swineherd that witnessed the rape of Persephone is the only person who knows how to get back to the world, and he takes you back. And that's what we're going to go through now.
Whoa.
Moving through the Erebus, which is the misty realms at the edge of Hades. but in this is also the clouds that surround Earth.
Oh, this reminds
That
me.
is the
I saw a
first
quote-
thing that they do when they get to Earth too, is drink water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First thing Burgundiphora does.
Right.
She
Well,
loved
and
it.
what did you say the river was called, Connor?
The Brook Madrigal?
No, in the
The
Leaf.
River of Memory.
The
Leaf.
River of Forgetfulness. Leaf.
because Liti is the name of
Right.
her home.
Right.
Oh, whoa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
And what's it? There's another name for it at a different point in time like this.
Another name for
Lady.
I don't know.
Oh,
I forget.
because they're like in a different. You mean
From a
later?
different
They try to get back to Lady at some point, but they're at a different point in time, and it's
Right.
not by the ocean anymore, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Can we
Oh, an
talk-
interesting thing about the river Leaf, also the river of Forgetfulness, is that the Greek word for truth is aletheia, or not forgetfulness,
Hmm.
and that's what truth is. I think that's cool.
It's funny that forgetfulness is their baseline then, right?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it seems like a reasonable observation.
Totally.
yeah.
Oh, hey, so I saw a quote from
Remembering is the
Napoleon.
weird thing. That's
Yeah.
But yeah, so Lady,
creepy.
the village by the stream.
Where I live.
And Gael is kind of the Norse counterpart to Lee. Gael borders Niflheim and the realms of the dead, I believe.
Sorry, I was spacing out. Did anyone tie this to what Zakiel says when she says death is a remembering? Think of death as a remembering.
Oh,
Oh fuck! Yeah, he does say that. She does say that.
Yeah, and that I thought that sounded cool, but didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But now, I mean, in light of what you're saying, Connor, I guess death could be, at least in the sense of the cult you were talking about. Death is ultimately about remembering,
yeah.
Yeah.
which is pretty wild. Some wild stuff here.
That's coming back to God for remembering that you, that the idea of you is just forgetting that you are God. What Philip K. Dick is always talking about. Anamnesis.
Yeah.
But Severian's remembering he's God now.
Severian's remembering he's God.
Yeah, I mean,
He is
he
God.
comes back to Earth and then just plays out all our favorite scenes from the Bible.
Yeah. Right.
And he knows about the star. He knows that he's the star too.
You know, I think that he's realized, oh shit, I'm the conciliator, so I can do all the conciliator things in a very Paul Muad'Dib, Panopticon Prophetica kind
And
of
like
way.
my body,
And
and my
that's what his
body
magic
is
is
just a
working.
marionette.
I couldn't understand what both of you are saying.
He just says that thing about he's realizes that his body is just a marionette. Like he's not his
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. I said basically, I guess the same thing, which is that's why his magic is working now.
Yeah,
It's because he's not I guess it's this claw. I guess it's this rock.
Well, he
He's like,
knows that
"Oh,
he
I
draws it from
shit."
Earth.
Yeah.
He knows that he's a channel. It's coming through his feet and going out of his hand. And he's tapping into the other dimension, kind of.
Yeah.
And he says to Bergie when she's like, "You should fight that wizard." He's like, "I don't have the thing I do is not magic."
right.
Yeah. That's an interesting distinction.
Yeah, he's changed his idea of what he thought was. He thought it used to be the magic of the claw. Now he knows it's not the claw and it's not magic.
Yeah. But magic
Which
is
is
real.
which is all the goal of real magic, the true wizard uses the wizardly tools to be able to raise himself to a point where he understands the tools are not necessary. What they say in the Matrix, there is no spoon.
That's right.
If anybody's hip to the Matrix, it's
Never
coming
heard of
back, y'all.
It's coming back.
Man, when they
Birth of the new Matrix.
when they played that at the Parkway, I really am glad that I went. That's all. It was so good. It really holds up, man. That movie really
Number
holds
one.
up.
Good one.
Yeah, number one.
Yeah, number one is good. The others are probably better than we think they are. But
Doesn't one end with a Rage Against the Machine track?
What, Connor?
I think that the more you think about the matrices, the better they become.
yeah,
The more
When you just
do it,
like watch the movie, you're like, what the fuck was that? And then when you think about the philosophy behind it, it becomes funny that they're talking about that philosophy with crazy fight choreography.
Well, that's particularly true in the second. I think I never saw the third one, but I did after watching the first one in the theater, seeing it again. Then I watched the second one, and it is definitely like that. Like,
Yeah.
it's good to think about, but not to watch. But then in the third one, I imagine is also like that. But the
Yeah.
first one is also a good movie.
Yeah.
Does the violence of isn't like the violence and the gun, especially the gun stuff, isn't it kind of like, does it work into the philosophy angles of Matrix at all? I don't feel like it does. Like, I feel like you've got two separate interests. Like, they need to have the gunfights so someone will see this movie, and they don't ever make a real good... Like, my understanding of why we have gunfights in the Matrix is because the bad guys can be anybody. So you can just shoot everyone, and they're probably bad guys. Which to me is
Right.
like... it's
Like in real life.
Well, it seems like a person of the 90s who knows better, who knows that, like, these movies where all these people are getting shot are base, but they want to make that movie, or they have to make that movie, so they're trying to come up with a justification for it that's, like, kind of smart, and it's not really smart at all.
Well, there's also a lot fewer of those kinds of scenes in the first one than there are, at least in the second one, that it's just
Yeah.
like all fight scenes.
Constantly
But the
fighting.
first one's really not. There's like some fight scenes, but they're not. It's not nearly as like gratuitous.
Was The Matrix before Columbine or after? It was after, wasn't it?
After.
Yeah.
before.
After I think.
And I
Wait.
think, yeah,
No,
so they
Matrix.
were...
Certainly the fight with the 100 Agent Smiths is after Columbine.
yes.
And they...
Isn't the first one
That's
after?
the second. That's
First
in the
one
I thought
came
the
out in
first one was
91.
after.
I'm pretty
thought
sure
they
the first
knew.
one's that.
They knew at the time making the Matrix, like, the world had changed, and movies in which somebody just, like a hero, just gets to shoot up a whole room full of strangers, like, they knew that didn't mean the same thing as it used to mean. But they had.
But at no
they went with
point-
it anyway.
Do they shoot
Caroline
all
says
strangers?
she's batting in. Can somebody read the chat?
Oh.
I can't see it.
Can somebody read the chat?
Yeah, Carolyn says, do you think you could say that the ship is where you see different patterns juxtaposed to one another, but Earth is being inside a created pattern? Does this question make sense to anyone else?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Can you read that slower?
Do you think you could say that the ship is where you can see different patterns juxtaposed to one another, but Earth is being inside a created pattern?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. Definitely.
Yeah, well, the Earth is like a distillation of probabilities, right? At least that's how it like serves in this narrative, like as a
Right.
place. Whereas the ship is a unaccordioning of realities, right? As an entity, it necessarily travels
Probability.
between probability. Yeah.
It's where yin and yang unite to become Tai Chi.
Oh.
You know, like two sides of the same coin are the same coin, and the ship is the coin. Sephiroth then clip off.
That's interesting too.
Well,
Like terminus est being like, this is the line of division, and then Severian name is like a sword blade. I mean, a lot of what I was thinking about when she said that comment about Severian's name being like a sword blade is like the fact that he has kind of like a foot in each world.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you could say he's also like chopping. He's also like transitioning between one timeline and another timeline. Like bringing the new sun, you're like cutting the old timeline.
Also, the book that we're reading is kind of where man becomes legend. You know, we're getting one man's account of how he became a legend.
Yeah.
So that's another straddle, a liminality. Because he's a psychopomp. Like Hermes, my patron. Hail Hermes, worship him.
So, do we want to talk about? What time is it? Oh yeah. So we have the whole section here where Severian gets in Burgundafara get to Urth.
there's just two things that we've skipped that are somewhat major. I don't know if we want to touch on it real quick.
Touch on whatever you want to touch on. I'm just trying to move us.
Oh, I hear you.
Back into the book, not past anything.
So I just want to mention that and acknowledge that there's two things that happen. First of all, Sev sees himself as Apu Punchao, and the second is that Sev's leg mends itself too, which I guess we kind of generally touched on. He goes through a transformation somehow. One thing that I think is interesting about his transformation from Sev, whoever the hell that is, into the Conciliator is that he never really has like a realization. Like the actions that he goes through don't lead him to learn new. I guess Luke Skywalker goes through, or at least it's not articulated by Severian or Gene Wolfe, like what that exactly is. It just kind of happens to him, and he changes. But you know, as soon as he passes through that black hole in the ship that is Yesod, he is new. You know, he is born anew. He's different. He's a different dude. In attitude too.
There's a word for it. Apotheosis?
Yeah.
Or beautification. He's like Hercules set amongst the stars. And now we see the story of him climbing back down into being just a man.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interesting.
And he does it through the symbology of Christ.
And so I don't have too much of a grip on how Apu Punchao is like relevant to the world of the New Sun. I know that, you know, he's described in New Sun as sort of a hermit, a time hermit or whatever. But it's interesting that Sev recognizes himself as Apu Punchao here, and I don't know if that plays out or gets described more as the book goes along, because I haven't read ahead.
Oh well. Okay.
It does. Okay. I guess it does. All right.
I think, Connor, you're allowed to talk about it. You're allowed to talk.
Yeah, we're in that section.
We're not. This is not a club that is concerned with spoilers. No.
Yeah.
The concept is that we've all read them a bunch of times. So if you haven't, then you just have to get spoilers sometimes.
Yeah, and I've read this before and still don't remember.
Right.
So it's fine.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think anyone should feel restricted in talking about these things. That's all I'm saying.
It's just a natural feeling I have,
Yeah, that's fair. We'll get there when we get there. I just wanted to acknowledge that little bit because it seemed significant.
There's going to be a deeper dive into Apu Punja.
Okay. Looking
But
forward
he
to
exists
that.
in the age of myth, the time so old it's been forgotten.
Right. Yeah, I guess that'll loop back. Right.
Yeah.
If Sev becomes Apu Punchao, like a figure of myth on Earth, he must go back in time or something, or I don't know. Not back in time, but
There's a Severian in every age.
yeah.
He's Apu Punchao in the age of myth. He's the conciliator in the age of Typhon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Severian the Lame at the end of the age of the Autarchs.
Yep.
And then the new god, the outsider in the new world of Ushas, the future.
Is that who we have now?
No, not yet. He's going through the period that he's the conciliator during the age of Typhon right now.
Okay.
And it's just exactly the Passion of the Christ. If you saw Behold the Man, my adaptation of Michael Moorcock's book,
Did see that.
similar, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I wish I could watch that again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I would like to see that again.
I think there might be a video of it someplace.
Oh, really? Did somebody record it?
I think somebody recorded parts of it.
No.
Well, good. I'm happy that people want to see that again. Maybe we'll do
I
it
would like
again.
to see it.
It was a madcap play.
That was a wild production to wrangle.
I had a good time. I remember having a good time.
I had a good time.
It had good music.
So,
Well, anyway, back to the Passion.
This part is it really picks up when motherfucker starts going around doing the
Healing people.
and
Yeah, this whole section becomes incredibly, like, weirdly straightforward, and
because he's back on Earth.
yeah,
Yeah.
You
makes
go out
total
into
sense.
the soup. You go out into the soup and everything gets soupy.
Yeah,
I think it's on. My point is, like, I think it's on purpose. I don't think it's just that he's like, I'm getting bad at writing for a chunk.
I mean, if
Like,
it tracks with symbols.
I hear you.
Like he's climbed. He went up to the abstract ideas of Kabbalah, and
Which
now
are
he climbed back down into a more concrete synoptic gospel.
My point was that he was just writing about stuff that I personally don't really read about and isn't my like cup of tea. So it was more weird, and that like I like the second half more because it's more like I'm just like, I just am like a grounded. I think like no, I don't want to say grounded as in like I'm a very practical person because I don't think I am. It's not like that. I think that I just don't tend to think about abstract things, is what I mean. And so I'm just like, well, I don't know. And then when he's like on Earth, it's just like now like I know what a boat is on Earth.
Oh, that pleased me. I know what a boat is on Earth.
but Jen, I'm not saying that I think this part is better. The second part is better because it's like clearer or anything. I'm just noting the difference, and I don't know. I understand. So I totally get like what you're saying, and that the first half would be soupier, and the second half would be less so on a thematic level. But also,
Because like, I don't think Severian can explain to you what the fuck happened to him because I don't think he fucking knows.
Yeah.
Like I don't. It's like a complete mystery.
Yeah,
I
think
I get what you mean. Sorry, Jordan.
No, it's cool. I think that I think Jen actually, in her explanation, raised a good point. Because I think I was getting too caught up in, like, what literally happened. What is it, like, what is this the description. What does it look like? And so I was missing stuff like Gunny or Burgundifora's reason for like wanting to leave. Like I missed stuff like that because I was getting too caught up in like stuff that maybe doesn't necessarily everything doesn't hinge on that. So I think I was missing a lot of like the other important stuff because I was just like, what kind of room is he in right now? And like maybe that doesn't really matter so much.
Right. I mean, I don't want to dwell on it. Yeah. I just think Wolfe handles it differently in New Sun than he does here, and I personally find it to be less rewarding in his handling.
I think you have. I think
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, if you're gonna have a personal transformation, there's gonna be some discomfort along the way. You're not gonna like the whole thing.
Okay, sure.
Very, very true.
I guess there's something to that.
You don't get to like it the whole time.
Writing books should be hard sometimes. Books should be fucking hard. Yeah.
It's not a book, it's a hologram.
Well, and it's rewarding when you get through the part that you're not. Having read this stuff several times, I find that there'll be parts where I'm like, "This sucks," and then the next time, it's a whole new thing. You know, like, no, now I'm at the part where this is important.
Yeah.
Right.
In the layers of it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
I'm sticking to my guns on this one, you guys. I don't know.
But only on this one. Is that?
It's a living thing.
This is the whole thing. This one is like the entire picture.
Anyway.
So he fixes an arm. He fixes another sick guy.
He fixes an arm, but also he has this weird relationship with that girl too. Like,
oh yeah, she just picks up and starts following him.
She's like, it's kind of like this groupie-ish energy going on, right? Or
he's beginning his ministry as the conciliator.
Right.
So right, how does Jesus do it? He just goes out to the dock and is like, "You come here." And everybody's like, "Okay."
I read a thing today that said that the first ever accounts of Jesus put him at like 4'6".
Oh.
That makes total sense.
Everyone was smaller.
Is he Frodo Baggins?
Well, but the thing I was reading saying that he was 3 cubits high or something, which was short for the time. People were saying God came down in the form of a conspicuously short man.
Well, he was a Jew. We're small people.
People were
perhaps the most Jewish.
Like this century.
Yeah.
I would have been tall back then.
Even I mean, like, if you look at like a woman's glove from like the 40s,
you'll get
it's like so tiny. I didn't mean you, Ryan. I meant one.
You look at a woman's glove from the 40s. Hope you don't have any plans.
Getting a little inspiration.
It's going in the bed.
Does anyone have any particular thing to say about the first 2 villages? Or do we want to go to Os?
I don't have any notes here.
Yeah, I mean,
what?
pretty straightforward. They go and eat some fish. They
yeah.
Isn't it weird how they really want their daughter's arm back, and she wants it too, even though they know it means that she's going to be sold into slavery?
Yeah,
right.
That was interesting.
But then she doesn't have to because she just starts following Severian around. So
does she follow him everywhere? Is she?
I mean, at least for a little bit.
So far, through this section, I don't know what
she'll hide in the mountains. Maybe she'll just hide in the mountains.
So Sev gets mistaken for death again. That happens in the past, right?
Right.
Yeah.
On a
Definitely.
205, he gets mistaken for death. But that exchange, almost to a T, happens in New Sun, right? I forget
Yeah.
with who.
And he's wearing a Fulgen cloak again.
Yeah.
So I guess like he's sort of like retaking that mantle a little bit because he talks about how like he had this big a bunch of clothing options and he's wearing a shirt notably, but he like picks a Fulgen cloak because he's still like technically a master of that guild. So
Yeah.
why not?
Jesus is a death god.
But he also he comes at the time that the person is expecting to die.
Right.
In this scenario.
He also gives him the choice. He's like, I can kill you if you want. And that's ultimately what death does, right? It's like, not gives you a choice, but it's like, the only reason you don't die is because death decides not to kill you. It's the only thing keeping you alive.
Or the only reason you don't die is that you give up your life to a higher power, to a god.
And when you realize that you're making a choice not to die, then you be more deliberate in your life.
Which is underneath a lot of spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
I believe it was Jesus Christ Superstar who said, to conquer death, you only have to die.
That's cute.
The best Jesus Christ.
The Superstar is your favorite?
Oh, yeah, by far. When I worship Jesus Christ, I worship Jesus Christ Superstar.
That's
Do
I'm
you
really
think
glad-
you're who
I'm
they
really
say you
glad
are?
I'm really glad that that's been made clear. I feel like that is important for our viewers to know.
Oh, for sure.
Much better than the Godspell one. So
I agree. I agree. I've had enough of mime.
Well, so do people have
Yeah.
things they want to say about Syrinx?
About who?
Mountebank.
Syrinx. Yeah, what's the deal with Syrinx? Is Syrinx kind of like one of those magicians who we met in the woods? Like, is he like a sorcerer?
seems to be because he breaks his staff like
He's
remotely.
Simon Magus. This story plays out in the Acts of the Apostles, where Simon Magus challenges Saints Peter and Paul. He can like fly and shit like that.
Does Syrinx reanimate Zama or whatever his name,
Yeah.
Zama, to attack Severian? Okay, and that's how he like challenges him.
Right.
He's like, I challenge you, and so he produces the zombie of Zama to attack Sev. So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but does that mean that we are located in a timeline when Sev is a boy in New Sun? Because if Zama's recently dead, right?
I don't know that he's literally the Axeman that Severian kills. I think he's just talking about that.
No, he's definitely not.
He's just a
I think
zombie.
we're 2,000 years before Boy Sev.
Yeah, we're in Typhon's time now.
Okay,
But it's an echo of that experience, so it's like a relevant point. But
okay.
it's not.
He just has a flashback.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
it
One of the
doesn't.
interesting things I thought that started happening here is people start marking time by the church calendar, the clock, which didn't happen, I don't think, ever in the 4 books.
Oh yeah,
Now
he does say something. He does say something about someone did say use a time measurement they hadn't used before. What was it?
nuns and vespers and stuff. They're going.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
monks at a monastery mark time.
Yeah.
Well, we're in like a technological age now.
Yeah.
We're
closer-
in a completely different world from
Yeah.
the first books.
One that's closer to our world. That's got more of the vestiges
Yeah.
of our own time in it.
That wasn't clear to me reading through this section. I mean, I hear the detail you're picking up on, Ryan, but other than that, it seemed sort of Urth of the New Sun-esque. I mean, it could be either or not. I don't know.
What this part made me think of, and I'm thinking of now, is how I was thinking about the disparity in wealth a lot, because it was like, oh, most of the common people that we see are like, seem like they're in the Middle Ages, and then like all of the like the autarch and all of the nobles, I guess, like, not that they have technology, but everything seems more like polished and like, you know what I mean? And then there's actual like UFOs and shit.
It's interesting that the inn operates too. That like that like poverty exists and most people are impoverished, but that also there's this inn, and they acknowledge this in the book, that does have nice food. Like there's nice places around. Like it's sort of analogous to, I don't know, our age, and like when you go into a restaurant and you order food and you kind of feel like a little king, but and you do, right? When you go to a restaurant, that's what a restaurant does for you. But also like our world is like completely fucked up and unequal. I don't know.
But,
it's just
like,
interesting that inn does exist in this town.
It's just 2,000 years ago, and the lives of common people are indistinguishable from the Book of the New Sun. It hasn't changed. There's nothing different. They, like, I mean, I guess in this one they say that they like live in huts, I guess, in like villages, and that is a little different. I guess maybe there's like stone towns and stuff, like Dorcas's town, but maybe there's just but they imply that like that wasn't even the poorest place where Dorcas was. There were places even lower, and I guess that's what they're saying, that North is where he lives, where they're going.
Yeah.
They're going north, so maybe they're just in like the poorest of the poor places right now. Anyway, but I'm just saying, like, it does seem the same at this point. Even Burgundy 4 is like, this is my time. She has no idea. Like, there's nothing different. Interesting.
It was sort of like maybe if one of us left Earth and then was deposited in a third world country we'd never been to before, we'd be like,
no, but then she thinks that her town is just up the stream. Like, she thinks she's almost home. She's not like, they're dressed kind of weird. Why do they have weird houses? I should be pretty close, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, a lot of history was like that. A lot of history stayed the same.
Yeah, and people. Well, do we know what time Burgundafara is originally from? For any reason?
Yeah, it might be her time.
I mean, we don't know what time she's from originally.
Wait,
She hasn't made any comments.
I thought this specifically was not her time. That we find out later, past review. I've read, but I can't. Maybe. Anyway, but I mean, I think in general, most people, even now, in our world, their sphere of influence on a daily, or even just in general, like pretty small. Like people know the town that like there's people who like have never left Hamden. True. That's a good point.
And like most people are just kind of in their little zone. And so, if you're Burgundafara and you're from a village, like, you might know things of other villages, but you maybe have never been there. And, like, any village is kind of like an alien as the next in a certain type of way. I don't really know. I'm just saying, like...
And if they're small, their customs might... like, the customs in between and how things look might change dramatically in between. I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
I mean, there's anthropological evidence for this. England has so many different accents on such a small island because they're such insular people that they just stayed in their towns. So each town has a wildly different accent.
Yeah, and I'm saying, like, even now, way later than the development of those things, it's still like that in most places. Most people, like there are plenty of people who literally have never left Hamden. Like, besides not leaving Baltimore, like, there are people who have never left, like, East Baltimore or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, their neighborhood in East Baltimore. Like, they just stay there.
You can more or less recognize those people by the way they speak, or even the way they they present themselves. It's
And
interesting.
she is supposedly Burgundafara's village is like they have to go to Nessus and then they have to go past Nessus to get to where she
That's true.
right. So it's not, she's probably, regardless of what time it is, she's gonna be disoriented. Or like she's not gonna it's gonna be, I don't know.
But another possibility is that, like, for Burgundafara, the idea of time travel is so pedestrian that, of course, she's not back in her own time. Like, she's not even bringing it up. Like, Gunny is, like, so casual about the concepts of time travel. I mean, it's just very, very regular. It's something they're thoroughly accustomed to. And so, she doesn't even bring it up. Like, she's just like, yeah, we're just in some other time. Like, whatever. Honestly, like that could be a possibility.
She's like talking about seeing her family again. She's like, let's go back to my village.
Does she talk about her family? I know she talks about her village.
She does talk about her family. She talks about her father specifically, I think. She's like, I'll kiss my father and the rest of my family, and then I'll probably stab him on the way out, I think is what she said.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, so that's true. So she assumes she's back in her time.
I think she just, I think it's just like not the thing.
You know what? She might be overwhelmed right now.
She's gone through a lot.
I don't even think I don't think it's occurred to Severian that he's not in his own time that he came from.
He hasn't mentioned it.
When you get brought home, you assume it's the home that's in your present.
That's so true.
Well, he just gives the guy
the ship. It's just like, there you are. There's Urth.
Yeah, and he gives the guy the Chrysos that he's never seen before because it's from like 2,000 years in the future or whatever.
Yeah. It looks like him.
That looks like him.
Like, what the fuck? Like, gold is gold, baby.
Yeah.
Gold, baby.
Gold standard.
Even if I did start coining my own money with my face on it, it's still real gold.
Yeah.
You have to accept it.
My face with my scarred face, my own scarred face. I like that thing that the sailor says, like, well, you don't shave sidewise or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I like that part. Well.
But
does anyone else
do we get more intel on Syrinx as this continues, or does Syrinx just kind of fade away?
He comes back, right?
Okay.
Wait.
Yeah, there's this. They fight in the morning.
Yeah, in the morning.
Okay.
Back that time. You mean, does he carry a bigger significance than that? I don't think so.
Okay.
Severian kind of heals Zama, doesn't he?
Yeah, Sev heals Zama. They go on a walk. They meet that.
Brings him back to actual life.
Right.
Yeah, real life. Yeah.
You one-up him pretty hard.
He pulls his consciousness through time.
Yeah.
He idealizes his reality probabilities throughout the multiverse in a single instance.
I feel like we're getting into our brain drain moment.
Well, we're at the last part of what we read through, so
yeah,
we timed it better than we usually do.
Oh yeah.
Maybe is there something metaphorical in that Syrinx brings back Zama by pushing him forward past death into like a life past his expiration, and then Severian's magic is taking someone back to the original ideal of what they should be.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of the ancient concept of the afterlife versus the Christian concept of the afterlife.
He says that at the end of this part that we're read, or somewhere in it, he said that he like touched someone and said some words, and then that man went to old or young, but he was just like unanchored in time and was just like a man.
Yeah.
That's the very last thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Section.
Is that what you mean? That part.
Yeah, like
Like,
also I guess I also see Syrinx as being like a cheap form of magic, which I guess to Wolfe magic is cheap, but like
Right.
what
Or
Syrinx
that
is
necromancy
doing-
is cheap.
Yeah, like
I like
Syrinx
how the
is-
magic is real, but it sucks. The people who do it suck, and they're like
it
gross.
misses the point. It's like it's a trick. It's a solipsist's trick.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't like
well,
access a
not-
higher reality. It just like gets something done in this reality that it
Yeah.
wouldn't otherwise be done.
Right. He reanimates a corpse, which is fascinating and otherworldly, but still somewhat of a cheap parlor trick, you know?
Right.
Caroline says
He's
that
like back, but he's gross and like he's a zombie. So what's
Yeah.
the point?
Caroline
He's
says
paw thing.
that Sanic has also been chatting.
Oh really?
Oh, I haven't seen any of
Panic
those.
back?
They're not showing me
Sanic.
that in my little window here.
Check it out.
Oh shit! Now I can see a couple of them.
What's he say? What do they say?
When enough of us have left it and come back, I wonder if Wolfe was thinking about long, short sun when writing that.
Ah,
And
Mhm.
then Caroline says that in regards to the Matrix, metaphysics is also really violent.
Yes, it is.
Is this an attempt to justify Columbine type imagery of just shooting strangers, like with clips and clips of ammunition?
The movie came out before Columbine by like 20 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it came out like
Interesting.
March 31st, 99, and Columbine was April 20th.
And then,
Same
then
year.
they double down on it for the 2 sequels. Like, nah,
Right.
it's a good thing, the images of shooting a bunch of strangers with clip after clip of ammunition.
Wait,
Yeah,
in the
but
Matrix
in
1, do
June,
they
they're
shoot a
albino.
bunch of strangers? What are you referring to? Do they shoot a bunch of
Every action
strangers?
scene in the Matrix takes place because, like, people are suddenly inhabited by Mr. Smiths. So, in the
Right.
Matrix world, you can just spray the room with bullets because anybody might
But-
be a bad guy.
Do they do that, though? Like, they don't just walk into a room and start shooting up people.
That's a
Absolutely.
metaphor for woke culture.
The people all turn into Mr. Smiths, but it's like it's one of those situations where, you know, who do those people become Mr. Smiths, or do you see Mr. Smiths because you've got a gun in your hand?
Right.
This is the theme of Superman v. Batman: Dawn of Justice. If there's a 2% chance that he might be bad, we have to destroy him.
Yeah.
Is that a cartoon?
No, that's a live-action disaster. It's got Khal Drogo as Aquaman.
Right. So does Aquaman.
And
Well-
All right, we're done now.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, does anyone have anything else they want to say about this section, or
It
should we pick a time, or should we decide when our next meeting is and let these streamers free?
And go to chapter 30 through chapter 39.
I'm going to write that down, goddammit.
you write down 39, everybody.
39. Yeah, 39.
That's
32
50
to
pages.
39.
Exactly
Ain't bad.
50 pages.
Sounds
Oh man,
good.
you guys, I got so nervous that because I hadn't, I had to read this morning because I've been reading Long Sun, and this section just flew by.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is
I was like,
the name
oh,
of the-
I read it. Oh, I've read this already. Very
Yeah,
good.
knocked it all
Like, or
out.
like, It took no time to read.
Yeah.
I don't understand Roman numerals this far. What is the name of the chapter we're reading to?
It would be
Fair question.
XXXIX.
Right.
X, X, X. Oh, 39. Okay, I went too far back. And I was like,
Because you
L?
take, if you know what, I is 1, V is 5, and X is 10, right?
Yeah.
And if there's a smaller one in front of a bigger one, it means you're taking that away from the one.
I know that. I was just on L, XL, I, and I was like, what the fuck?
L is
I
50.
have no idea what that is.
L is 50.
50, okay. XL is 50.
No, L is 50, so XL would be 40.
Oh, I see.
They're extra large.
So, Magic Mike XXL. What is that? What letter Mike
That's
is
impossible
that?
in Roman numerals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you would
It's
have
actually the 80th installment of the Magic Mike
Those
series.
aren't Roman numerals. Those are Trojan numerals.
Damn.
Okay, that's funny.
Tell that one at the chowder pot.
Yeah. I do. The chowder pot is like the most like modern and pedestrian name for a restaurant.
Yeah,
It's just so weird.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It brings you like Ocean City or something.
Do we want to meet?
Exactly.
Do we want to meet next Sunday?
Sure, I do.
I think we can go. So next Sunday at 11, 32 to 39,
I
Got
like
it.
it.
and then we can chop the stream now.
Okay.
Bye.
The poor people.
Jesus Christ.
Bye, everyone.
Jesus Christ. Who are you? What have you sacrificed?